The metal detector blared as a man in a worn, oversized military jacket stepped through courthouse security. Instantly, the room froze. Guards instinctively reached for their weapons, but what lay hidden beneath that jacket wasn't a threat. What they found would move a 67-year-old judge to tears and change how an entire city treats its veterans forever. If you believe our veterans deserve better, hit that like button now. It was November 14, 2019, 9:47 a.m. Inside courtroom 3B at the Providence Municipal Court. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead as Judge Frank Caprio, adjusting his glasses, scanned his morning docket. 43 cases, mostly minor traffic violations and parking tickets. Nothing that could have prepared him for what was about to enter through those heavy oak doors. Drop a comment below and tell us about a veteran in your life who deserves recognition. Michael Patterson shuffled forward, his coat 3 sizes too large, olive green army surplus with faded corporal stripes barely visible on the sleeves. His gray beard was uneven, and his hands shook slightly as he clutched a worn manila envelope to his chest. Though only 52, he looked closer to 70, but his eyes, that distant, haunted thousand-yard stare, told a story that no age could erase. Subscribe if you think judges like Frank Caprio represent the best of our justice system. The bailiff called the case. Docket 19, CV 8847. City of Providence versus Michael James Patterson. Failure to appear. Unpaid parking tickets totaling $873. For a man living in his 1994 Honda Accord, $873 might as well have been $8 million. Michael approached the bench slowly, his old army boots squeaking against the polished marble floor. The courtroom, sparsely filled with about 15 people. A young mother with a crying baby, an older man checking his phone, a court reporter poised at her stenotype machine, had yet to notice him. But that was about to change. Judge Caprio looked up and immediately sensed something different. Maybe it was the way Michael carried himself despite obvious exhaustion. Maybe the stubborn dignity of a soldier who had seen too much. But there was something in that presence that demanded attention. Mr. Patterson, Judge Caprio said, his Providence accent warm and measured. I see here you have 8 outstanding parking tickets over the last 14 months. Quite the collection. You trying to set a record? A soft chuckle rippled through the gallery. Caprio, famous for treating defendants like humans, listening and caring, was also a man of accountability. Michael's voice, rough as gravel, cut through the room. No excuse, Your Honor. I take full responsibility. Judge Caprio scanned the paperwork. First ticket September 2018, parked 6 hours in a 2-hour zone outside the VA hospital. October, same thing. December, January, March. Mr. Patterson, it seems you spend a lot of time at the VA. Are you receiving treatment there? Michael hesitated, jaw tight. Yes, sir. Physical therapy and counseling for PTSD. The courtroom fell silent. The young mother with the baby stopped rocking. The businessman lifted his eyes from his phone. The court reporter's fingers froze mid-stroke. Judge Frank Caprio removed his glasses and leaned forward, his gaze steady. You're a veteran? He asked. Yes, sir, Michael Patterson replied. United States Army, 82nd Airborne Division. Served from 1987 to 2007. Tours in Desert Storm, Bosnia, and 2 tours in Iraq. 20 years of service, Judge Caprio said, his voice softening. That's no small thing, Mr. Patterson. Thank you for your service. Thank you, sir, Michael murmured. Judge Caprio's brow furrowed slightly. So, help me understand something. You go to the VA for appointments, and while you're receiving medical care, you're getting parking tickets? The parking lot fills up by 7 a.m. Your Honor, Michael explained. I've been leaving my car on the street, trying to move it every 2 hours. But sometimes my appointments run long. Sometimes the pain is too much to walk back out. Sometimes, I just forget. If your heart is breaking right now, leave a like and keep watching, because this story is about to take a turn you won't see coming. Judge Caprio set down his papers. Mr. Patterson, where do you live? The question hung in the air, heavy, for 3 seconds that felt like 3 hours. In my car, Your Honor. The courtroom went silent. The businessman froze. The young mother's eyes widened. Even the bailiff, a 15-year veteran who had seen it all, straightened in disbelief. "You're homeless?" Judge Caprio asked quietly. "Yes, sir," Michael said. "For about 8 months now," he continued. "I lost my job at the warehouse in February. A back injury from my service worsened. I couldn't do the heavy lifting anymore. Couldn't make rent. VA benefits help, but it takes time. I'm on the waiting list for housing assistance. Meanwhile, I sleep wherever I can park without getting towed." Judge Caprio stood, a rare move for him during hearings, and walked down from behind the bench, closing the distance to Michael. The entire courtroom watched, spellbound. "Mr. Patterson," the judge asked gently, "what's in the envelope you're holding?" Michael glanced down as if he'd forgotten it was there. "My discharge papers, Your Honor. Medical records, VA appointment confirmations. I brought them to show I wasn't just making excuses. I know I broke the law. I know I have to face the consequences. I just wanted you to understand. I wasn't being disrespectful. I wasn't parking there because I didn't care. I was trying to get help, trying to get back on my feet." Hit that subscribe button if you want more stories about judges who give people a real chance. Judge Caprio carefully opened the envelope. Document after document emerged. DD 214 discharge papers showing an honorable discharge, Purple Heart certificate, Bronze Star citation, medical records with shrapnel still lodged near Michael's spine, psychological evaluations documenting severe PTSD and recurring nightmares, letters from the VA confirming thrice weekly appointments, and then something else. Tucked at the back was a photograph. Judge Caprio held it up. A younger Michael Patterson in desert fatigues, arm around another soldier, both smiling despite the dust and heat of Fallujah in 2004. On the back, written in faded ink, "Me and Danny, Fallujah 2004, brothers forever." "Who's Danny?" Judge Caprio asked gently. Michael's voice cracked, and the courtroom leaned in, silent, as a lifetime of sacrifice weighed on the room. "Daniel Martinez," Michael Patterson whispered, his voice trembling. "My best friend. We went through basic together, deployed together. He saved my life in Fallujah when our convoy was hit, threw himself over me when the IED went off." "Where is Danny now?" Judge Caprio asked gently. "He didn't make it, Your Honor," Michael said, his voice cracking. "He died protecting me and 3 others. He was awarded the Medal of Honor posthumously. His name, it's on the memorial wall in D.C. Tears spread across the courtroom. The young mother dabbed at her eyes. Even the bailiff, a veteran of countless hearings, cleared his throat and looked away. Judge Caprio held up the photograph of Michael and Danny in Fallujah. "You carry this with you everywhere?" the judge asked. "Every day, sir," Michael replied. "It reminds me why I'm still fighting. Danny died so I could live. I owe it to him not to give up." Drop a comment below. What would you do if you were the judge in this moment? Then it happened. As Michael reached for the photograph, his oversized coat shifted. A faint, soft whimper escaped from beneath it. Judge Caprio froze. The bailiff instinctively stepped forward. "Mr. Patterson," the judge said carefully, "what's under your coat?" Michael's face drained of color. His eyes darted between the bailiff and the judge. "Your Honor, I can explain," he stammered. "Open it slowly," the bailiff instructed, hand at his belt. "Please," Michael pleaded, his voice desperate. "Please don't hurt her. She's all I have." Slowly, he pulled down the zipper. Nestled against his chest in a makeshift sling of an old t-shirt was a tiny golden retriever puppy, no more than 8 weeks old. She looked up with wide, innocent brown eyes and let out a tiny yip. The courtroom collectively gasped. "Mr. Patterson," Judge Caprio said, his stern voice softening, "you brought a dog into my courtroom." "I'm sorry, Your Honor," Michael said quickly. "I couldn't leave her in the car. It was too cold. She'd die if I left her alone. I found her 3 nights ago in a dumpster behind the grocery store. Someone threw her away. She was starving, freezing. I've been feeding her what I can, keeping her warm. I know it's against the rules and I'm probably in more trouble now, but I couldn't let her die." I've already let too many people down. I couldn't let her down too. If this story is touching your heart, hit that like button and keep watching, because this moment is about to change everything. Judge Caprio stood, something he rarely did during hearings. He looked at Michael, a homeless veteran living in his car, facing nearly $1,000 in fines, yet holding this tiny life in his hands like she was the most precious thing in the world. And then he smiled. "What's her name?" the judge asked. "Hope," Michael whispered. "I named her Hope." Judge Caprio reached out and gently scratched behind the puppy's ears. Hope licked his finger and wagged her tail. The courtroom held its collective breath. "Bailiff," the judge said. "Yes, Your Honor," the bailiff replied. "Get me the municipal code on animals in public buildings. Right away." While the bailiff retrieved the documents, Judge Caprio returned to his bench and gestured for Michael to sit in the witness chair. Michael carefully lowered himself down, cradling Hope against his chest. The puppy, finally relaxed, had fallen asleep, her tiny body rising and falling with each gentle breath. "Patterson," Judge Caprio began, his voice calm but commanding, "I want you to tell me about your service. Not the battles, not the medals. I want to know who you were before all of this. Who was Michael Patterson before life turned everything upside down?" Michael blinked, surprised by the question. "I was just a kid from Cranston, Your Honor. Grew up in a small house on Elmwood Avenue. My dad worked at the shipyard, my mom was a teacher. I had 2 younger sisters. Played baseball in high school. Wasn't the best student, but I tried. I joined the Army because I wanted to serve. Wanted to make a difference. Wanted to make my parents proud." "Did you make them proud?" the judge asked softly. "I hope so, sir," Michael replied, voice breaking. "They died while I was overseas. Both of them, gone in an instant. My sisters. They blame me for not being there. We don't talk anymore." Judge Caprio nodded slowly, letting the weight of those words sink in. "So, you lost your parents, your connection to your sisters, your health, and eventually your home. What didn't you lose?" Michael looked down at Hope, cradled against his chest. "My sense of duty, sir. My belief that good people still exist. My determination to keep going, even when everything says I should quit." The judge's tone shifted, firm and measured. "The law is clear about unpaid parking violations, Mr. Patterson. The city has every right to collect this debt, $873 plus court costs. That brings your total to $1,047. Do you have any way to pay this amount?" Michael swallowed hard. "No, sir. I have $63 to my name. That has to last until my disability check comes next week." "And how much is your disability check?" the judge asked. $912 a month, Your Honor. $912 to live on, to eat, to buy gas, to somehow survive in a city where a studio apartment costs over $1,200 a month. Subscribe if you believe our system is broken, and if you think judges like Frank Caprio are the ones who can fix it one case at a time. Judge Caprio leaned back in his chair, surveying the courtroom, the people watching, his bailiff, the court reporter, and Michael Patterson, holding a tiny puppy named Hope. Then he looked down at the documents spread across his bench. 20 years of military service, Purple Heart, Bronze Star, medical records detailing injuries that would make most people give up. "Here's what's going to happen," Judge Caprio said, his voice steady. "I'm dismissing all 8 parking violations." The courtroom erupted. Gasps filled the room. Someone even clapped. Michael's eyes went wide in disbelief. "Your Honor," he stammered, "I don't understand. The parking situation at the VA hospital is terrible. I've heard the same story from a dozen veterans this year alone," Judge Caprio replied. "Men and women who served our country can't park legally while receiving the medical care they've earned. That's not justice. That's bureaucratic nonsense. These tickets are dismissed, and I'm writing to the VA administrator demanding they fix the parking situation immediately." If you're cheering right now, leave a like. But don't stop watching, because this story is about to get even more incredible. Michael's tears streamed down his weathered face, soaking his gray beard. "Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you so much." "I'm not finished," Judge Caprio said. He turned to his bailiff. Tom, call Ellen at the Providence Housing Authority. Tell her I'm sending over a veteran who needs emergency housing placement today. Not next week, not next month, today. Call Dr. Sarachan at the VA. I want Mr. Patterson enrolled in the Accelerated Benefits Program. And get Peter Santos from the Veterans Alliance on the line now. The courtroom watched in stunned silence, witnessing justice and compassion at work. Tell him I'm calling in that favor he owes me, Judge Caprio said, his voice calm but deliberate. The bailiff scrambled, making call after call, scribbling furiously as the courtroom watched. But the judge wasn't finished. Sophia, he said to his clerk, contact the Humane Society. Ask if they have resources for veterans with service animals. If that puppy means that much to Mr. Patterson, we're going to make sure she gets proper veterinary care, and that he gets the support he needs to keep her safe. Comment below if you think more judges should operate like this. Michael couldn't speak. He just sat there, holding hope, tears falling onto her golden fur. The small dog stirred, opening her big brown eyes and looking up at him, sensing that something extraordinary was happening. But Judge Caprio wasn't done, not even close. There's one more thing, he said. He reached into his desk drawer and pulled out his personal checkbook. The courtroom leaned in. The judge wrote carefully, tore the check free, and held it up. This is a personal check for $500, he said. Not from the court, this is from me, Frank Caprio, as a private citizen. Use it for necessities, food, warm clothes, whatever you and Hope need. Consider it a small thank you from a grateful citizen to a man who gave 20 years of his life defending this country. The gallery was overcome. The young mother was sobbing openly. The businessman's tears streamed down his face. Even the court reporter paused her typing to wipe her eyes. Michael rose slowly, cradling Hope, and approached the bench. Judge Caprio stepped down to floor level, handed him the check, and did something judges rarely, if ever, do. He hugged him. Frank Caprio, a Rhode Island institution who had presided over thousands of cases, wrapped his arms around this homeless veteran and held him while he cried. Hope wriggled happily between them, tail wagging, somehow understanding the beauty of the moment. Share this video with someone who's lost faith in humanity, because this will restore it. The courtroom erupted. Everyone stood, clapping and crying. The bailiff wiped his eyes. The clerk passed tissues to the gallery. This was no longer a courtroom hearing. It was a display of pure human compassion. The kind that reminds us why humanity is worth fighting for. When they finally separated, Judge Caprio placed his hands gently on Michael's shoulders. Listen carefully, he said. Your fight isn't over. Getting housing is just the first step. You've got medical issues to address, mental health to work on, a life to rebuild. But you're not doing it alone anymore. Do you understand? You're not alone. I understand, Your Honor, Michael managed. I won't let you down, he whispered. You already haven't let anyone down, the judge said. You served with honor. You survived when others didn't. You saved a puppy when you could barely save yourself. Those aren't the actions of a failure, they're the actions of a hero. Hit subscribe if your heart is full right now, because this story is about to take another turn. As Michael returned to his seat, Judge Caprio addressed the courtroom. Let this be a lesson to all of us. Before we judge someone's circumstances, we need to understand their story. Mr. Patterson isn't a deadbeat dodging parking tickets. He's a decorated veteran, fighting battles most of us can't imagine. Our job as a community is to lift people up, not push them down. Our job is to show compassion, especially to those who showed courage when we needed it most. The applause continued, but Judge Caprio raised his hand, signaling for silence. His eyes were drawn to one final document tucked in Michael's envelope, something no one else had noticed. Mr. Patterson, he said softly, there's one more document in here I need to ask you about. Michael looked confused. Yes, sir? Judge Caprio pulled out a single piece of paper, the courtroom hanging on every word. It was a job application, filled out in careful, neat handwriting, dated just 3 days ago, for a maintenance position at the local community center. Starting pay, $12 an hour. Michael had never submitted it. Why didn't you turn this in? Judge Caprio asked gently. Michael's voice was barely audible. No phone number to put down. No address. No way for them to contact me. Figured they wouldn't hire a homeless guy anyway. Why bother? Judge Caprio studied the application for a long, silent moment. Then, without hesitation, he pulled out his phone and dialed a number. The courtroom held its breath as he waited. Marcus Frank Caprio here. Listen, I've got a veteran in my courtroom who applied for your maintenance position. 20 years of military service, honorable discharge, Purple Heart recipient. He's exactly the kind of person you said you wanted to hire. Can you do me a favor and interview him this week? Excellent, came the reply. I'll see him tomorrow at 10 a.m. You won't regret this, Marcus. I guarantee it, Judge Caprio said, hanging up. He looked back at Michael. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. You have a job interview at the Providence Community Center. Marcus Reynolds is expecting you. He's a good man, a former Marine. He understands what you've been through. Show up on time. Tell him your story honestly. I believe you'll walk out with a job offer. Michael opened his mouth, then closed it. No words came out. Hope yipped softly, as if adding her own silent thanks. The bailiff leaned toward the bench and whispered something. Judge Caprio nodded and turned to Michael. Tom just spoke with Ellen at the Housing Authority. They have a studio apartment available in the Veterans Complex on Broad Street. It's yours if you want it. Rent is 30% of your income. Move-in is immediate. They're cutting through all the red tape. You can get the keys today. Today. This was a man who had woken up that morning living in his car, facing nearly $1,000 in fines he couldn't pay, bracing for more disappointment. By tonight, he would sleep in his own bed, in his own home, with his puppy, Hope, by his side, and a future that finally felt full of promise. I don't know what to say, Michael whispered. Say you'll take care of yourself, Judge Caprio replied. Say you'll keep fighting. Say you'll remember there are people who care, even when it doesn't feel like it. Can you do that? Yes, sir. I promise, Michael said. Share this video if you believe every courtroom should feel like this. But the story wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. As Michael prepared to leave, clutching his envelope, his puppy, and a newfound hope, a man in the gallery stood. Mid-40s, dressed in a business suit. The same businessman who had been checking his phone earlier. His face was red, tears streaming down his cheeks. Excuse me, Your Honor, the man said, voice shaking. May I approach? Judge Caprio looked surprised, then nodded. State your name for the record. David Martinez, Your Honor. I'm here for a traffic violation hearing later this morning, but I need to say something. Something to Mr. Patterson. Michael turned, confused. He'd never seen this man before. David walked forward until he was just a few feet away. You said your friend's name was Danny Martinez.